Hey y'all. Hey. How are y'all? I hope y'all are doing fantastic. It's October. It's been October for a while. And I think I actually put a video out already, but I'm excited for Halloween. And I'm excited about today's episode, as you can tell by the title. I am reading your true paranormal experiences. These are ones that either y'all submitted to me or I found on Reddit and asked the author if I could tell them, and they're like, yes, go ahead. So I'm gonna leave their descriptions. Really? I'm gonna leave this is what they look like. No. I'm gonna leave their information in the description box. So if y'all wanna follow them on Instagram, on Reddit, wherever, I'm gonna leave it down there. So, are y'all ready? Because I'm ready. You know I love me some paranormal stories. Love them. I can't get enough of them. Send me more. Send me more. This first one is from JimBarky. The title is, as a child, I had experiences with shadow people. If y'all know me, demons and shadow people scare the shit out of me. So I can't wait to read this. I can't wait. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Been thinking about some interesting experiences I had as a child with what I can only describe as shadow people. I have vivid memories of these tall, thin creatures with their vague features making their way into my bedroom late at night just before I fell asleep. Looming over my bed, I'd keep my eyes sealed shut, still able to sense them. I could feel their eyes staring at me, their breath on my face as they got closer. Every time one of these shadow people made their way into my room, I had what I described as a faraway dream. Even though I wasn't asleep, my 7-year-old self couldn't think of a better description. Anyway, during these dreams, I would watch as the room seemed to stretch, making things seem as if they were far away. I'd hear what seemed like hundreds of voices, first as whispers but growing in volume and apparent agony until I couldn't hear anything else. As the otherworldly cacophony reached its peak, one of the shadow people would come into my room, walking in through the open door sometimes, but more often through either the closed attic trapdoor or straight through the second floor window. My eyes would stay sealed shut until I could no longer feel the being's presence or I fell asleep. I'm surprised he was able to fall asleep. I would tell my foster parents, later adoptive, what happened, but was just assured that it was a simple nightmare. I kept experiencing them for about another 3 years with less and less frequency. I only ever saw the shadow people at this house, and my first encounter was within a few days of being moved here. But I'd had faraway dreams while I was in my first foster house because 2 of my siblings were being fostered here separately from me, and we'd ride with my parents to pick them up during visitation days. Whew. This next story comes from Presence Desperate 373. That's her name on Reddit. The title of her story is, I've had several paranormal encounters over the years. Here's the first few. She said several. I'm ready. So, as the title states, I've had several, and I mean more than one, but less than 50 experiences. As a child, I was going to Catholic church, if that means anything, but with that in mind, I was raised thinking there were spirits, but not having seen or heard anything. Shortly after my grandpa died, I was staying at my grandma's house. I was maybe in 5th grade when this happened. This was my first experience, and I never told anyone about it because I was a kid and nobody would believe me. She's probably right. That night, I stayed at my grandma's house. I slept on the couch. I was too scared to sleep in her room because that's where my grandpa died. He died in his sleep. As a child, that would freak anyone out. Yeah, it would. But my grandma had this clock that would chime every hour. I remember being woken up to the chime, and it felt like it wouldn't stop. I remember opening my eyes because I thought I heard my grandma walking down the hall to get water or something. Expecting to see her, I was gonna ask her when the chiming would end, but when I looked down the hall, I didn't see her. What I saw was, I can't describe it any better, a blue floating orb, and a massive one at that. It had to be the size of a head. Absolutely freaked me out. So I did what any child would do. I put my head underneath the blanket and closed my eyes so tight. I never brought it up to anyone, and that was definitely the last night I stayed at my grandma's house. Girl, I do not blame you for that. Not long after that, maybe a month or so, at my old house, we've moved from that house about 7 years ago, and I have several experiences from there as well. I was in our basement with my younger sister. We were dancing to music with our childhood friend. I remember that song that I was dancing to when I saw this. It was Fun House by Pink. I remember that song. It was the middle of the day during the summer, if that counts for anything. But I remember I spun around and saw this extremely tall white figure was standing in front of what was my room. I stopped dead in my tracks and just looked at it. It looked like lightning, electricity even. My sister and our friend noticed I wasn't dancing anymore and asked if I was okay. I said, "Don't you see it?" They said, of course, they said no. I didn't know what else to do, so I just sat on the floor and prayed for it to go away, and it did. I never saw that apparition again. I also remember one night I was reading on my Nintendo DS under the covers because it got cold in my room. And as I was finishing a chapter of some book I was reading on the internet, I felt a dip at my feet. Not thinking anything, since we've always had cats and dogs. I thought it was just one of our pets. I stuck my head out to pet them, but nothing was there. But the pressure of the dip was still at my feet. I once again pulled the blanket back over my head and prayed. The pressure didn't leave until after I finished the prayer. Thinking back, I believe it could have been my grandpa or one of my cousins who had passed. But those are just a few of my experiences. My experiences get more and more creepy as I get older. Oh, I'd like to hear some more since you've gotten older. I would love to. Did I forget to introduce Miss Coco? That's who you hear snoring in the background. She does do all the videos. Yeah, I know. I know, love bug. Be sheepy. Okay, here's the last story from Reddit. This one is from CrushedLaCroixCan. The title is called, "Who Was Walking Around My Bed?" This happened to me a couple years ago. I regret not taking pictures because nobody believes me. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment alone on the second floor of a building. There were 2 doors to my apartment, the back door which led to a fire escape, I always used to this one, and the front door which I never used because the hallway was always filled with cigarette smoke. One night I was asleep. I always slept with the bedroom door shut. I woke up, but it was more like a foggy in-between state, to someone in my doorway with their fingers pressed to their lips. They said, "Shh, it's just me." And back to sleep I went. I'm a very light sleeper and not the type of person who could easily just fall back asleep. When I woke up, there were tracks around my bed. They came from the doorway, went around to the foot of my bed, and stopped at my bedside. They weren't clearly outlined or footprint shaped, but just pieces of weird dust and dirt, kind of like if you scraped out the bottom of a treaded boot and the dried dirt maintained its shape. It was pieces like that spaced out in walking distance around my bed on the floor. I know they were not there before I went to bed. There is no way I would have seen them and not immediately cleaned them up. No doors go to the outside directly from my apartment either. I still don't have an explanation for this. That would freak me out big time, because I'm a neat freak too, and we have wood floors, so yeah, if I saw, you know, like, I would accuse Gavin of tracking dirt in or something from outside, because he will do that, but I would have cleaned it up. Now if I woke up in the morning and there it was nope, no, I'd go ahead and have a heart attack. The ones that were sent to me, here we go. This one was submitted by Rustee Lane. It didn't have a title. They don't have titles. My first ghost story came when I was 2 years old. I was out in the yard playing. Mom was watching me through the kitchen window while she was washing dishes. I spotted a little pretty colorful snake coiled up underneath that window and squatted down to get a better look at it. At 2 years old, I didn't know what a snake was or that it was dangerous. All I knew was that it had pretty colors of red and yellow, and I was admiring its colors. Well, the snake began to raise its head towards me, and all of a sudden a hand grabbed my arm, snatched me backwards and up. All of a sudden I was standing on the ground holding hands with a tall skinny lady dressed in a long white dress. She walked me back to my door and told me to go inside. I climbed the 3 steps, then turned around to look at her again. She had totally disappeared. I wondered where she went and looked all around for her, but all I saw was an empty field in the back of our house. No other houses were around. She was gone in a matter of seconds. I went inside and there was my mom still washing dishes in front of the window I'd just been in front of, but oblivious to what had just happened to me. Years later, I saw a picture of my grandmother when she was 2 years old, sitting on her father's lap, and her mother was standing beside him. Her mother was a tall, skinny woman in a long white dress. That was the woman that had saved me from a coral snake. She was my great-grandmother, and she had died 5 years before I was born. What? This last story that I'm going to read to y'all was submitted by Dr. Spooky. I wonder if he's a real doctor. It doesn't have a title either. The scariest encounter I experienced with some type of entity was when I was counseling a woman who I suspected was troubled by repressed memories of childhood trauma. Apparently he is a doctor, a therapist. She had severe anxieties with certain types of men, and she knew her own father was a brute, though she had very few childhood memories of him. We had decided the best way to clear the air of this man, who had been dead over 20 years, was to try some hypnotic regression and recall what was now safely far in the past. I tried 3 times to hypnotize her, but each time she would open her eyes and say, "I can't, he's stopping me." I would try to reassure her by reminding her that the man was dead. In fact, she was at his bedside when he died, and his last act was lunging towards her. On the 4th try, when I said, "He can't bother you anymore, he's already dead," suddenly a very loud, deep, guttural, animal-like scream filled the small consultation room we were sitting in. We both jumped out of our seats. It seemed that his spirit was somehow still attached to her and not about to let her go. Oh no. Can you imagine being a therapist and y'all, oh no, I cannot imagine that. Are there any therapists watching? Can you tell me what you would do or what you think about that? Y'all leave me comments if you've had any experiences, you know, since it is October and everything, and we're gonna be doing some scary stuff. But yeah, DM me, email me, whatever you need to do. I need to hear all of it. I need to hear all the experiences, all of them. As many as you can send me, I need to hear them. And if you want me to read them, I'll read them. If you don't want me to, I won't. I mean, like, on camera. I'm gonna read them regardless, but if you don't want me to read them on camera, let me know. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you don't want to miss any videos. And thank you for watching. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.